Lori here. I'm here to do my September TBR. So, my September TBR basically will be a little bit different. Normally, I go back to school, lickety-split, quickety-quick, I am back. But this year, it's a little bit different. I don't actually start really commuting until the 13th. So, halfway through the month, I have 2 teacher work days, which will be next week. But I really still have, 2 more weeks off, which is really, really nice, and it's a nice slow going, especially because we don't really know what's going to happen this year. But at least right now we don't. Everything's still up in the air with Delta and everything. But I do have a lot of fun plans. So I do have a couple of readathons I'm gonna work on sort of in the background. I'm always doing the Avengers reading challenge. I'm going to try to put a little bit more focus on it than I have in the past couple of months. I've been a little bit distracted. So I did put a couple of those prompts in here as well. I also am going to be working on the, what's it called? I think it's called the Novice Pass, hosted by Book Roast. So I have a couple of things for that. And then I'm also working on the TBR and Beyond Back to School Challenge. So I am going to sort of keep all this up. And I am going to do my normal TBR game and everything. We're going to go over the e-arcs. And then I'm going to sort of choose some books that will basically work for these prompts. Basically, that's what I'm going to do. So, we're going to talk about the e-arcs because I didn't read any of my chosen e-arcs. So, I have about 5 of them that I'm just going to talk about at the head of this reading vlog, at the start of this video. And then I'll plug them in if they fit for any of the prompts going forward. All of these e-arcs are coming out in September and October. I sort of didn't plan that, but when I picked them, they were all coming out in September and October. So let's get into the e-arcs that I'm hopefully going to start reading this month. Also, because I am heading back to work, my goal is to read 1 ebook every single week. That's the plan. That's my goal. But right now, just looking at the numbers and books I pulled, I have about 7 of them, which means I would have to read more than 1. But that's where I'm starting. So let's dive into them. Actually called Small Town Monsters. It's by Diana Wallace or Rodriguez Wallace. Here is a photo. I've actually read her previous series that was a little bit more travel based. Ironically, I actually know her niece. I actually went to before the pandemic and everything. We went to conventions for a couple of years together. Her niece is very, very nice. Hi, Marissa, if you're watching these videos. But this one is more like Conjuring meets a murder mystery, but here is a photo and I'll give you guys a better summary in a moment. I'm on a blog tour for this for TBR and Beyond reading group, so I really need to read this. This might actually be the first book that I pick up, depending on which reading vlog I wind up picking first, and we'll talk about that at the very end of this video. But the summary for this one is The Conjuring meets The Vow. This is a terrifying story of a girl, a dark angel, and a cult hell-bent on taking over a small coastal town. Yeah, this is a very, very short read. So hopefully I'll get to read this really, really soon. And I do have to get my blog post sort of set. And then the next book that I am going to chat about is called Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. I've heard really good things about this one. I'm really excited to read this one as well. And here's a photo. In October. This is also the author that wrote The Musical Crow, which I have not read yet. But let's see if I can give you guys a little bit of a summary. Let me see. Yeah, it's coming out October 19th. And it says a scrappy maid must outsmart both palace nobles, low gods, in a new YA fantasy from Margaret Owen's, author of the Merciful Crow series. Yeah, I'm really excited for this one again, and it sounds like a perfect fantasy. I love books about thieves and maids and political intrigue, so this one sounds right up my alley. The next arc that hopefully I will get to this month is called Tips for Magicians, and this one does come out in October, but here's the photo. Actually came out August 24th. It's the only one that doesn't come out in September or October, but pretty late in August. And then the summary just says, after a magical muse seems to have abandoned a small Utah town, it is up to a grieving boy, his best friends, and a stray dog to find out where it has gone and how to bring it back in this lyrical and hopeful story. And again, this book is it's about 353 pages. I'm just looking at page lengths because that will sort of dictate what I read on a commute ride, because I can get a lot of pages done when I have to commute. But it sounds great, and I really tend to like middle grade, so I'm really excited for this one. And the next book I'm hoping to read is called Whispering Alaska, and here is a photo. This one does come out in October. Read, and its prompt is: an eco-focused middle grade novel follows the story of twin sisters who move with their father to a small town in Alaska for a new start after the devastating loss of their mother. And this tends to be probably like a little bit about climate change, but also dealing with grief and harder topics. I also like Alaska as a setting, and like again, like Utah, I've never read a book set in Utah, so these settings just sound really, really fun to me. So I'm really excited for this one and hope to tackle it soon. And then the next book is the one that I was supposed to read in August and then just didn't get around to. It's called Keeper of the Night, and this is a YA fantasy book. It comes out in October, and here is a photo. During the Tokyo Olympics, and I was like, oh my god, that would be perfect for my Olympic-a-thon, and then I never wound up reading it. But the summary says: Girls of Two Worlds, accepted by none, half reaper, half Shingaji, soul collector, seeks her destiny in this haussing, compulsively readable dark fantasy duology set in 1980s Japan. I'm really excited for that one, though. That one sounds really cool. And then my last e-arc that I'm going to hope to get to is called Dark and Shallow Lies. Here's a photo, and this is an eerie, creepy murder mystery. Summary, according to where I'm reading it from, says a teen girl disappears in her small town deep in the bayous, where magic festers beneath the surface of swamp-like water rot. In this chilling debut supernatural thriller for fans of Natasha Preston, Karen McManus, and Rory Power. When I read this, I originally thought of Pretty Little Liars, but more with like a magical twist. That sounds great. I really want to read this one. But yeah, so those are all the e-arcs that are going to be pulled from my little jar. And hopefully I can make some progress, so next month I can have a bunch more, but I didn't do as good reading e-arcs last month, for sure. Oh, will say I did update this with a bunch of new props. I added fall TBR stuff, a bunch for the Avengers reading challenge. So here's my 2 die. Let's see, how many prompts am I pulling? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, only 6 prompts. So let's get started. The first prompt I'm going to pick, let's see, is an other Avengers reading prompt. So every month they drop new boards. So this month, the boards that were added was Agent Peggy Carter, Valkyrie, Nebula, and the Wasp. But I have a couple of them here that don't have like, that I'm trying to finish the board. So let me think about what I want to do, and then I'll come back and write it, like go over it with you guys. This is from Lady Six, which will actually complete her board, is Destruction on the cover. So I picked Forged in Fire and Stars by Adrienne Robinson. This is also one of my list books, which will probably come up eventually in this reading vlog. It's the books I was supposed to read in the summer. A little bit late on that, but this one is about a blacksmith, I think, and there's a lost princess. She has to leave her mountain town and go on a dangerous adventure, but you know, there's a mysterious thief that is her unexpected companion. It sounds great, so I'm really excited for this one, and this one will be the first book for that game. I was really trying to get to it in the end of August, and it just didn't happen. So September will definitely be the month for this one. Pulling another one. And that is, a prompt from the Valkyrie board. Quite a few prompts on a bingo board, obviously, but I decided to choose Hani and His Shoes Guide to Fake Dating by Abhigda Jakara. I'm sorry, I'm saying that name wrong. So the prompts that this would fit for is an LGBTQ author, an LGBTQ character, a sapphic romance, and also maybe a loss of a community. I would have to read it. But fake dating, rule number 1, Hanny and Joe cannot tell anyone about their relations, not their friends, not their parents, no one. But it's basically about fake dating in middle school, and it has to do with, the author is a Bangladeshi and Irish writer. She currently lives in Ireland, and I think they have to fake date to help them achieve their goals. But it sounds adorable. So I'm really excited for this one. I was hoping it would fit for rainbow covers, but it doesn't have enough colors of all the rainbow. But I'm really excited. I got this on one of my ARC giveaways from one of the conventions I went to, and I wanted to read it over during the middle grade readathon, and I just never did. But I'm really excited to read this one. It sounds really, really fun. It will probably be a quick read as well. Next prompt I'm going to choose. I'm going to try to go down to the bottom because I did add a bunch of prompts. Oh, this is an auto by 2021 author. I actually have to go look for this, but I will be back. My auto buy book, I did wind up choosing The Queen Will Betray You, which is the sequel to Sarah Henning's The Princess Will Save You. I actually listened to that last month. Really excited for this one as well. This one does fit that prompt, but it also fits one of the Ant-Man's prompt that it has an A, an N, and a T on the cover. So this one will also go for the Ant-Man prop as well. I really did like the first book in the series. It has one of my favorite tropes in fantasy. I really like the characters and the world building. So I'm really excited to keep reading the series, and I really liked rereading the first book. And then the next prompt, there are a lot in this jar. Ooh, let me see if I can get this one. Ooh, it is a prompt from the WASP board. So let me go do some research and see what books I can pull. Really excited for this prompt. It's for the WASP board, and there are a couple of prompts this one works for, but I'm gonna do the Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin, and this is like an elemental magic story. And it has to do with like climate change, but the prompt that it just looks like it would work for, like maybe I'll find some more. Someone did tell me this character is an only child. I'll have to look up and double check, but if that is, I'm also an only child, and I never get to read about only children. But also probably a character with something to prove, because I know she's the only witch that has access to all the seasonal magics. There also is insects on the cover, and there's also is insects on the dust jacket of this book. I'm really excited for that. The inside of the dust jacket, I think I mentioned this in my book haul, is just super pretty. And also, let me see. And also, this book definitely does involve nature because climate change. And I don't know if it would be slow to start or has a father-daughter team up. But she falls for the witch training her. So there's an unexpected romance, and there's a bunch of stuff happening. But I'm really excited for this one. So right off the bat, this one fits 1, 2, 3, 4 prompts on the WASP board. So I'm really excited for this one as well, and I did want to read it. It is like a fall read, and I'm really excited for this one. So nice way to start fall for sure. The next book that I'm going to choose is going to be a BIPOC author. I have a lot of options, so I'm going to kind of go see what works, and I will give you guys an update when I figure it out. So the book that I'm going to choose for a BIPOC author is Raybearer by Joanna Ifeko. I actually heard really good things about this one, and this one does have like an Afrofuturism thing, which is for one of my prompts. So I'm really excited for this one. I do actually have the sequel. I did get it in a gift box from one of the publishers during, I think it was ALA. But I've had this book for so long. I think I got this at the last time I went to New York City Comic Con. I actually got a couple of copies of this book, and I might do a giveaway at the very, very end if I really like it. But yeah, I'm really excited for this one. I know a couple people I've followed, like Haley and Bookland read it. I think a couple other people read it and really enjoyed it. I know Bookish Realm read it, so this one will be really excited, and I'm excited to hopefully tackle it soon. What I'm going to choose is, let's see, another Valkyrie prompt. So this might be the month that I finish my Valkyrie board. We will see. Let me go see what else I need for the prompt. I did choose was for a Valkyrie board, and I chose the Women in Power, and also it might be Loss of Community. It also might be featuring War. I just haven't read the whole book. It definitely, I think it's probably going to be Women in Power, but this is Bone Crier Dawn by Catherine Purdy. I really did like the first book. Again, this is a little bit eerie and creepy, so it's great for fall. But yeah, so now I'm gonna go look at like my other things, like the other challenges and the other stuff that I wanted to do, and just sort of fill out my TBR, because right now I only have 6 books in addition to all the ebooks on my TBR. So I'm gonna go figure out how to like get everything else into it, and then I'll report back. Book Roast does this like really complicated reading thon, and I always miss it, but I have got in a little bit early. So this is called the Novice Path. So the way it's broken down, I would definitely recommend you go watch her video because I'm sure she does a much better job explaining it. But you basically have to choose 2 prompts you only have to read 2 books in the month, but I'm going to be a little bit more ambitious because I sometimes get distracted as the year goes on. But you have to pick 2 books to like get past this part. So the 2 books that I'm picking to get past this part, one book is one that's been tempting you, or it's been on the top of your TBR. So I'm gonna read The Ones That Were Meant to Find by June He, and this is a science fiction story about a STEM prodigy. It follows 2 sisters. One is at like a STEM prodigy, and the other is trapped on an island with her android. I've been reading a lot of science fiction recently, so I'm really excited to dive into this one. This one was also a former Owl Crate choice, so really excited for that one. And then the next book on the Novice Path to choose is read a book featuring ghosts, haunted house, or other supernatural elements. And I wound up choosing A Dark and Shallow Lie that I picked earlier in my NEC LAQ for that. And then you also have to choose like for your character creation, you have to choose 3 things. So I'm going to choose a book that is mostly set outside. So the book that I chose for that is Reign of Shadows by Sophie Jordan. This was a Sleeping Beauty retelling, but like she's trapped in a tower, and then this mysterious archer saves her, and they have to basically escape into the wilderness and survive. So that one is definitely fits for that prompt. And then the next one is you have to Province, and Hersha is the type of character that I'm gonna have for this game, and I have to pick a book that is like features Fae or Elven characters. So I'm gonna choose Dark and Shallow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. This is an asexual rep book, but it does have fairy characters in it, and I'll just read the back. Choose your player. A half-fae outcast desperate for acceptance, a temptress fairy hellbent on revenge, the dutiful prince determined to earn his place, and the brooding guardian burdened by a terrible secret. Each holds the key to solving a series of murders that threatens to exploit the fairy to the human world, but they cannot do it alone. To track down the killer, they must form a tenuous alliance, putting the differences and conflicts aside. Failure risks destruction of the fae and human world alike, and time is running out. So, this sounds really, really good. I'm super excited for this one. I actually won this from a game that I played. And then the last book also did fit with my room, but it's read a book with elemental magic, and Nature of Witches worked perfectly for that. So I am going to read 5 books for this. You only have to read 2, but I am a little bit ambitious, and I have some space in my TBR this month. So those are the books I'm going to read for the Novice Quest, and now I'm just going to go look at my TBR and Beyond reading game and see if there's anything that I can add or adjust to make sure that I at least win a little bit of that game. What I'm going to do for the TBR and Beyond Back to School Challenge is I'm going to focus on Thursday and Friday. Like, every day has 5 prompts, and you have to like sort of read them to get that, once you have to read every single book. So it's like a mini readathon, which is really exciting. So the one I'm going to do is read a book set in another country or world, and I'm going to do Keeper of the Night, which is an e-arc that I've been dying to read. It's set in Japan. It has like a fantasy, it's like a dark fantasy story. Read a book with plants, flowers, or insects on the cover. Nature of Witches works for that perfectly. I've already shown that. Read a book with a close friendship or friend group. Bone Crier's Dawn, which I've previously shown. And read a book with a pretty cover. Dark and Shallow Star is very, very pretty. And then Friday, this is where I added a couple of reads. Read a book recommended by a friend. I went shopping with my friend Tiffany recently, and she picked up Box by Christina Dancelin. And this is when women are only allowed to say 100 words per day. She really liked it. She encouraged me to buy it. So I really hope that I like this one. And then read a fairy tale retelling. Reign of Shadows, Sophie Jordan is another one that I mentioned. Read a book of your choice. The Good Thieves. I do have to read a book about thieves, and I think I can use like a middle grade to sort of even out the heaviness of the books. And then read a thriller or horror novel. I'm gonna reuse Dark and Shallow Lies because at this point it's on every single TBR, so that book will definitely get read because it's on every single one. But those are all the physical books. Now I'm going to talk about the audiobooks that I have planned. Yeah, this is where it's going to get a little bit complicated, but let's get into it. Only month that I didn't read any nonfiction, and I'm not that worried about it because I do read a lot during the school year. It's especially like I read a ton during the school year, and I actually did read quite a few the month previously. But I'm actually in the middle of listening to one. I have about 37 minutes left, so definitely finish this probably today when I'm doing some errands. But it's called The Creative Thinker's Toolbox. I got it from Audible, and it's from Great Courses Plus. I'll put it up. I will attach a photo. Every single time I make a video, but I am a theater teacher, and the last couple of years has been just hard as a theater teacher, especially with like the pandemic and remote learning and not putting up a show successfully in 2 years. So I've been feeling a little bit less creative than I really would like to feel. So this book just really inspired me to look at creativity in a different way and how to kind of motivate my kids to be a little bit more creative, especially since we're not going to be working like we normally like to work. Group work is still very, very like not allowed. So it just was an interesting way to look at it. It was a pretty quick audiobook. I read through it pretty quickly. And I'm happy that I picked it up. So that's going to be the one that I'm going to finish first. That's like my nonfiction book. And then I'm going to talk through the other nonfiction books and then the fiction books. Next book that I'm really excited for, I found this as like a daily deal on Audible when they were having their sale, but it's called The Witnesses Wore Red. Here's a photo. Like the little click of like the little summary that I found, the a revealing, inspiring memoir of women forced into polygamous marriage in the FDL's church and their brave struggle to protect others from the same fate. So that sounds really good. I'm really excited for this one. I've always been fascinated by that stuff. Like I was a psych major for a very, very long time, and any psychological stuff or interesting family dynamics always interests me. So this one definitely interests me a little bit more. And then this is a book I was so excited to see on that sale because I've been dying to re-listen to it and reread it. It does fulfill a couple of the prompts for the Avenger reading challenge as well. It does. The author is from Africa, I think. And there was another one. Yeah, one of the authors of this book is from Africa. And it definitely takes place on a different continent as well. But that is I Will Always Write Back. Here's a photo. Well, I read this book like about 3 years ago, I would say. I just picked it up randomly at Barnes & Noble, and I fell in love with this story. It's about these two kids, a girl, I think she's in Massachusetts. I could be wrong. It's been a bit since I read it. And a young boy in Africa, and they wind up being teams up to be pen pals, and no one could have predicted the impact this relationship would have had on both of these children. It's a very, very heartfelt read about friendship and just kindness, and I just love it, and I'm really excited to reread it, and I'm so happy that I got the audiobook for a very, very discounted price thanks to Audible. And then a couple of like the nonfiction books I'm going to hopefully read. I am in the middle of reading two of them, actually a couple more if I'm being honest, but I'm going to save those thrillers for October, I think. But the first one is Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa. For me, but I want to really continue reading. I love kitsunes. I love Japanese culture. I fell in love with the first book, and then I just never continued. So I do need to definitely reread this book or re-listen to it to just sort of be ready for the second book. But I like it. Whenever I read about kitsunes, it always reminds me of Teen Wolf season 3, which was definitely my favorite, but I really do like the characters in this story as well. It's like a ragtag bunch of characters that are forced to save the world, and I love that trope, and this book is definitely one that I really liked the first time that I read it, and hope I continue to like the other books in the series. And then I'm also listening to an adult book called Senlin Ascends. That's book 1 in the Babel series by Josiah Bancroft. Here is a photo. Fantasy novel that I've heard so many people reading and talking about, but it's about this husband and wife, and they're sort of going on this adventure to this mystical city, but on their way there the husband loses the wife, and I think it's his adventure to try to find her in this mystical city. I listened to the first hour and I was really hooked, and then I got a little bit distracted. So I hope to make some more progress on that this month and complete it and maybe move on to book 2, 3, and 4. We'll see. But I'm very excited for this one as well. I really like the first hour I listened to. And then the last one to get in the witchy season is Tale of Witchcraft by Chris Colfer. Here's a photo. This is the sequel to Tale of Magic. This is a prequel series to the Land of Story series by Chris Colfer, and I also picked up the audiobook of this one over the summer. I do have a physical copy as well, but I love his audiobooks like so much. So I'm happy that I was able to get a discounted copy of that one because I will definitely listen to it and ease into the fall season. So those are my audiobook plans. Everything always changes, like especially with my TBR, but I really am excited for this TBR and I feel really excited. Unlike I felt like a little bit disjointed in August, but because I did just redo my TBR card and I hate empty space on my TBR card, I am just going to talk about some other books I'm just going to put on there in case I do like a random number reading challenge, a reading vlog this month. I will talk about the reading vlogs as well that I'm going to do at the very end. But I'm going to put Sea Witch Rising on there. This was a 5-star read prediction for me, and I would like to read it maybe at the end of summer because we're heading into fall, and I like mermaids. So and this is also a fairy tale retelling, and I love Sarah Henning's writing. Sisters of the Sake by Serena and Sasha Nanu is also an Crate book that I have on my TBR, so hopefully I will get around to this one. I also got from a copy of the library Go the Distance by Jen Caloney. This is What If Meg Had Become a Greek God? I actually do have an e-arc of this as well, so if I do read it, it will help me with that. And then just two small books. I got this one recently, Renwell by Brian Jackas. This is a book I've always wanted to reread. I read this when I was very little and then just never continued. And just a historical fiction, Suddenly You, which has been on every single TBR card just because it's small and fits. But those are all the books that are going to live on my TB card. Now I'm going to go over the reading vlogs that I hope to accomplish this month. Games of Chance. I've always really liked that. So I have this little mug and I have some reading vlog options and I'm going to go over them with you guys and then I'm going to choose one. So one is a Tiffany reading vlog. I recently went shopping with my friend Tiffany and she gave me a lot of reading recommendations. So a Tiffany based reading vlog. Another one is a 2022 vlog, which would have me reading books ridiculously early. That's one. I have a couple. I don't have a lot, but I have a couple. Another one is a random number reading vlog, which would have to do with this piece of paper that I'm making. And then I also have a couple of them. I have a TBR and Beyond reading vlog to go with the TBR and Beyond challenge. I have a fall reads physical, which I do have a couple over there, and I do have a jar for that as well. I also have a novice reading vlog for the novice challenge that Book Roast is hosting, and then just an Advengers reading challenge for them as well. And then these are the last two. I also put in here a physical arc reading vlog, and then also a fall e-arcs reading vlog. So we will see what gets chosen. But I'm excited. I like chance because I have a really hard time making decisions about anything, to be honest with you. So let's see. What am I going to start today? Today is September 1st. Let's see. If I can get my finger down there. Ooh, a physical arc reading vlog. Click the button, so I don't think it showed what I picked. But I did wind up pinning... Ooh, a fall reads reading vlog. It says physical, but I am going to start this reading vlog off with Small Town Monsters because I do have like a couple, I have to read like a couple for a blog tour. So I'm probably going to start with my e-arcs and then kind of go in. That works out great. But yeah, so that's my September reading vlog. Ooh, I always say going back to school sometimes is a little bit of a mixed bag. I sometimes read a lot. I sometimes read nothing. Hopefully I read a lot. I always read a lot regardless, but I don't think I'm going to read 30 books, unfortunately, sadly. But thank you guys for watching. I will be participating in the TBR and Beyond reading challenge, the Book Roast challenge, and also the Avengers reading challenge. So I'll talk to you guys soon for my next video. Bye, friends.